Economics. Gold is valuable because it's rare. If gold were as common as dirt, it would be worth nothing. The same principle applies to you. You're everywhere. Posting, commenting, seeking validation, broadcasting every thought, every move, every meal. And that constant availability, that endless supply of you, has made you worthless. Not morally, economically. Nobody respects what's always available. Nobody values what never disappears. This is why ghost mode works. Why monk mode transforms. Why disappearing for 6 months changes everything. Not because you're being mysterious. Because scarcity creates value. When you vanish, when you remove your supply from the market, the demand shifts. People notice the absence. And absence, correctly executed, is more powerful than any presence you could perform. You think your visibility is your strength. It's your weakness. Disappear, not to hide, to build. In the dark, where transformation happens. This video is not for everyone, only for those ready to vanish. If that's you, like this video to seal the pact. Comment, I am going to start your 6-month clock. If you're weak, keep scrolling, the door closes now. We are entering the void, where ego dies, where transformation happens, where most men break from the silence. Ghost mode starts with a death, not metaphorical, psychological, the version of you that seeks attention, that posts for validation, that needs people to witness your existence. That version has to die. And death is violent, even when it's chosen. You think the hard part is the work, the training, the building, the creating. It's not. The hard part is the silence, the absence of feedback, the screams of your ego as it realizes no one's watching. No likes, no comments, no proof you exist. And your ego, that desperate validation-seeking part of you, will panic. It'll tell you you're being forgotten, that people are moving on, that you're making a mistake. And here's where most men break. They come back. They post just one update. They peek at who's still watching. They can't tolerate the void. Because the void reveals what they've been avoiding. That their entire identity was built on attention. That without an audience, they don't know who they are. That's the funeral, the death of the performer. And if you can't survive that death, if you can't sit in the silence without dissolving, then ghost mode will destroy you. But if you can let that version die, what emerges is something else. Not the person who needs to be seen. The person who doesn't care if they're seen. Because they've built something real. In the dark, without witnesses, without validation. And that person, the one who survived the void, that person is dangerous. Not because they're aggressive, because they're untouchable. You can't manipulate someone who doesn't need your attention. Can't control someone who's comfortable in the silence. Can't break someone who's already died and returned. That's what the funeral creates. Not weakness, invulnerability. But first, you have to be willing to die. Are you? What happens in the 6 months? Nothing impressive. That's the point. No viral moments. No updates. No performance. Just repetition. The same routine. Every day. For months. Training when no one's watching. Building when no one's applauding. Creating when no one's validating. This is the dark room. The blacksmith's forge. Alone, hot, brutal. Nothing glamorous about it. Just you and the work. No audience. No feedback. No external motivation. Just the hammer, the iron, the sparks. And here's what happens in that room. You stop performing. You stop trying to impress. You stop editing your work for an audience that isn't there. And without that performance pressure, without the need to make it look good for others, you start making it good for yourself. You build standards that aren't influenced by trends. Develop taste that isn't shaped by algorithms. Create things that actually matter to you. Not because they'll get likes, because they're yours. This is the shift most people never make. They build for the audience, for validation, for approval, for proof. And that dependency makes everything they create hollow. Because it's not coming from them. It's coming from their need to be seen. The dark room removes that need, forces you to build without feedback. And in that absence of external validation, you develop something rare. Internal standards. The ability to know if something's good without needing someone else to tell you. The confidence that comes from work done in silence. The sovereignty of not needing applause. And when you emerge, when you finally return after 6 months of building in the dark, you're not looking for validation. You're not performing for approval. You're just showing what you built. Take it or leave it, because you don't need their response anymore. You already know it's good, not because it's perfect, because you built it alone, in the dark, without compromise, without performance. That's what the dark room creates. Not better work, sovereign work. 6 months pass. You emerge, and something's different. Not just your body, not just your work, your energy. People notice, not because you announce it, because they feel it. The absence created a vacuum. And nature hates vacuums. So curiosity fills the space. Where were you? What happened? You seem different. They can't articulate it, but they sense the shift. Because you're not seeking their validation anymore. You're not performing for their approval. You're not asking for permission. You just are. And that presence, that unshakable, uncompromisable presence, is magnetic in a way performance never was. Because it's real, not curated, not optimized, not designed for consumption. Just the residue of someone who went into the dark and came back forged. This is what Cialdini's Scarcity Principle teaches. Value comes from unavailability. Your constant presence was devaluing you. Every post, every update, every appearance decreased your worth. But the absence, the withdrawal, the scarcity, that created demand. Not because you're better, because you're rare. And rare is valuable. Always. But here's the twist most people miss. When you return, you won't care about the applause. Because the dark room taught you something the spotlight never could. That external validation is empty. That real power comes from internal standards. That the only approval that matters is yours. So they'll celebrate your return. And you'll accept it. But you won't need it. Because you've tasted something they haven't. Sovereignty, the power of not needing to be seen. And once you taste that, once you know what it feels like to exist without performance, you can never go back to the cage. The clock starts now. 6 months, no posts, No updates, no performance, just you and the work. In the dark, where transformation happens, say goodbye to the version that needs validation, that craves attention, that performs for applause. That version dies today. What emerges 6 months from now? You won't recognize it. Neither will they. And that's the point. Disappear. Build in silence. Return unrecognizable. Not because you changed for them. Because you built something they can't touch, can't influence, can't diminish. The door closes. Comment I am gone. And vanish. 6 months. Starting now.